started as well. All right, everybody can see that. So what we're going to focus on today is, and this is called How to Not Suck at Pitching Your Startup. So thank you, all of you, for being here. Today's content is focused on your elevator pitch. What do you say when someone says, what does your company do? Or tell me about your company, or what do you do? Any of those kinds of derivatives of that same question. We're going to focus on the first part of this content is on mindset. The second part is showing you the actual formulas and strategies to craft your elevator pitch. And the third and final part is giving you real life examples of successful elevator pitches using the formulas and strategies so you have some templates to walk away with and practice with and start to craft your own. There is a part 2 of this workshop we don't have time for in this live session, and that goes into a little bit of a dive into building an investor pitch deck, some of the more advanced storytelling strategies. So what I will send you, because we don't have time for a live to do that, what I will send you as a follow-up email is the recording of what I call the director's cut version of this workshop. The director's cut's going to be a condensed pre-recorded edition of everything you see today, plus that additional 15-ish or 20 minutes specifically on building a strong investor pitch deck. With that said, I will also have the recording of this taken care of too. It'll just take us a few days to get it up on the YouTube channel. So just check out subscribe to the Startup Hype Man YouTube channel, and then you will see the recording of this exact session I'd say later this week. Okay, friends, I've got my chat pulled up. I also have the Q&A bar pulled up. Just a couple of things here. Make sure if you have a question, you put it in the Q&A section so I don't miss it in the scroll. Anything else that's like general chatting, of course, use the chat. And we're going to use this chat feature a lot today. So again, welcome everybody to How to Not Suck at Pitching Your Startup. My name is Rajiv Nathan, aka RajNATION with Startup Hypeman. It's a pleasure to do this for all of you in partnership with our friends at Forecastr today. Let's dive right in. So I want to just share our mission as a company first, just so you understand why this is important. You've probably heard 9 out of 10 companies fail. You've probably heard women and minority-owned companies get around 2% of venture funding. To me, this is an environment designed for failure, actually. And so our mission at Startup Hype Man is to use the power of story to make success inevitable and not the exception. And I do think that is possible the more we focus on really strong communication, messaging, and storytelling, and being able to connect with other people through those mediums. If we do that, we can create a new reality where the 3 inevitabilities of life are, yes, you will die. Yes, you will pay taxes. You cannot avoid those 2 things. But if we focus on the storytelling, your startup will also make it. And the more we focus on the story, the more that can become a true reality. So if you want to join me in that journey, let's dive in. I know everybody here was tuning in for a pitch workshop. What you didn't realize is that you were also tuning into a live interactive game show called Pitch Your Startup. Woo, woo, woo. That's right. It's Pitch Your Startup, the only live interactive game show where a room of entrepreneurs are put in front of their peers, where they have to none other than, you guessed it, pitch their startup. So what I would like is a lucky volunteer who wants to come on down. And your goal is to pitch me. I'll put 60 seconds on the clock, and I want to hear your elevator pitch. Who would like to be our volunteer? And you can either currently be in the Zoom grid box, or we can promote you into the Zoom grid box if you're not currently there. We have someone raising their hand. It is Doug Lewis. Woo, woo, woo.
Come on, Doug. Let's go, Doug.
All right, Doug, show us your beautiful face and come off of mute. And I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And when I say go, it is your turn to pitch me. All right. Ready? 60 seconds starting now.
No, thank you. I didn't expect this. I invented a technology that captures carbon, but in a scalable and low-cost way by using the energy that's inherent, I guess, in settled solids or sludge, particularly from water bodies. It could also be from wastewater treatment plants. So basically it converts greenhouse gases into captured carbon. That's it.
All right, and he clocks in at about 35 seconds. Everybody give Doug a round of applause. Woo, woo, woo. Stay with me for a moment here, Doug. Thank you for participating. Tell me how you feel right now.
Nervous.
All right. Why nervous?
No idea. I'm not a psychologist by training or by any way.
Talk to me about if you were to rank that pitch on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank it?
Oh, probably between 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Why would you say that?
Well, I mean, it's really the technology, like all technologies, I guess, is difficult to understand. Maybe it doesn't seem that hard to explain, but difficult to understand. But what might be, I guess, actually, maybe to answer your question about why I'm nervous, is that it can change our trajectory of greenhouse gases, and it's just so important that I'm sad that my sort of inability to explain it and connect is allowing the, say, CO2 to be already at 420 parts per million, where I think the solution would change that trajectory, because there's so much energy that's been captured over decades in every eutrophic water body in the world that is contributing.
So let me cut you off there. So basically, if I understand, this big, huge, massive problem, and you're nervous because it's a big undertaking, and you want to make sure you're representing it properly. Is that right?
Maybe, yeah, that's well said. The problem is quite big, and yeah, I'm just nervous that yeah, I guess what you said is perfect.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the honesty and the vulnerability. What I want to do is give you the tools and the resources today to get that from a 1 to a 2, maybe in the near term to a 6 or a 7, and then very shortly after that up to a 10. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, great. Everybody give Doug a round of applause. Thank you, Doug. You can head back on mute. Thank you. Everybody who in the chat, talk to me real quick. Put a message in the chat why you did not volunteer yourself. It was probably about 10-second gap there, and then Doug raised his hand. Why did you not raise your hand in the 9 seconds before that? We've got nervous in there. Okay.
Makes sense. Adds up. Adds up.
Yep. Let's see if we can get a few more answers here. Why did you not
hit the
volunteer?
chat? We're going in. We're going in. Come on.
Unprepared. Okay. Nervous, unprepared. Let's see if we can get one more response here. Fear of flopping, not developed yet, unprepared. Okay, great. Real quick, Nick and David, can you do me a favor? Right now, you only sent your message to host and panelists. Make sure you can reset it so that you can send your message to everyone. And that goes to everybody else too. Make sure your chat there is set to everyone, not just hosts and panelists. So this is a pretty common theme, right? Fear, nervous, scared. Doug mentioned he was nervous, and that seems to be consistent across several people as well. So what I want you all to understand is that you are not alone in this feeling. This is a pretty common sentiment the majority of founders do have. At the same, that's me playing good cop. Now I'm going to play bad cop. It is common, but it's also not okay. And I'll tell you, I've done this training for literally thousands of entrepreneurs, and these kinds of responses are very consistent: nervous, scared, unprepared, don't like being put on the spot, things like that. But while that is consistent and common, it is not okay. And I would make the argument in the case that being prepared on the spot, like on the spot, is the only spot that matters. Because what I promise you won't happen is you will not have an instance where an investor or a high stakes customer, meets you on the sidewalk, and then you're like, they go, hey, not today, but 24 hours from now, I'm going to meet you on this piece of concrete, and then I want you to pitch me. So just like do your part, get prepared, get all the shakes out of your body. Tomorrow, same time, same place, we're going to meet up, and then I want you to pitch me. That will not happen. What will happen, though, is you will find yourself at an event. Maybe it's a conference. Maybe you've got a booth at a trade show. You will find yourself at a networking event. You will find yourself perhaps in an actual elevator, and you will find yourself on meetings. And those are all on the spot moments where you have to be prepared with your elevator pitch. You have to know what to say. Because, you know, as we all have heard before, you have that one chance to make a great first impression. So make the most of it. Also keep in mind, as we talk through some of the strategies later on in this, that you really need to dial in what is unique about your company. So what I don't want to hear, and I hear this so often, is founders leading with, let's just take Doug's market, for example, like carbon emissions. This is totally made up, Doug, but I hear a lot of founders who will be like, they'll open and they'll say, carbon emissions is a $72 billion market. Great. That is not a piece of information that is unique to you. And I'll tell you this, a big market is basically table stakes for any investor who you might be speaking to. So it's information they will need to know ultimately, but it's not like just because you said this market is 72 billion, now they're like, oh, I have to pay attention, because everyone who they're speaking with has a big market. No one's coming to an investor and being like, we are hitting the rapidly declining fax machine industry, right? Those things aren't happening. So be above the norm. Have something that is more unique to you and the problem you are solving. Do not lead with market size. And I like to say, do not swing your big TAM energy. Now, all of that said, I said, you know, you're not alone in this. And I want to share with you the journey of creating your elevator pitch, or how to create your elevator pitch, by sharing with you the journey of two other founders who were just like all of you. Their names are Kim and Joyce, and they're the co-founders of a company called HonestGame. They took a version of this workshop a few years back, and they were just kind of in like dire straits with their pitch. Afterwards, they came up to me and they said these 2 points. Kim is on top, Joyce is on the bottom there. They talked about being passionate, but the point not coming across, communicating a problem that most people don't understand, but everyone needs to get it because there's a huge opportunity at play. I actually remember they came up to me and they said, Kim said, Joyce and I can be in the same room and we can go talk to 2 people about our company. Those 2 people can then go talk to each other and they'll think that they just met 2 completely different companies. That's how out of sync they were with their pitch. So the task was, how do we turn this around? Because they knew they had something potentially big on their hands, and they wanted this to get in the hands of people ultimately. And they, you know, their path was going to involve getting into market, obviously getting customers and users, and potentially raising capital as well. So that's what we did. We set out on a mission. And so as we talk through the content today, I'll share it to you through the lens of their journey. A little bit of background on myself and why I care so much about this. My core belief in life is that everyone deserves a voice. And that's what I've made my mission with startup Hypeman, but it's also what fuels all of my personal and professional pursuits. So with that as my core why, I am a hip hop artist. Some of you know this already, but back in September, a couple months ago, I released the first ever startup and founder themed hip hop album. It is available to stream on Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming platform, any music platform you have. Just look up RajNATION, all one word. And the album Goat to Market is available for you now. We threw a huge release party here in Chicago in September. It was amazing. And it is a journey. It is an 8-song album that documents the journey of a founder going from idea all the way to capital raise. And I promise you, it is not hokey or corny either. It is something that is you're gonna love to listen to, and it's getting a lot of good feedback too. I'm also a yoga instructor, and when I teach yoga, I very much approach from the lens of figuring out a story for the students and constructing the sequences of poses through the lens of building up a physical story. But also, I tend to have themes for all my classes as well. I'm a professional ring announcer and TV play-by-play broadcaster and MC for MMA as well. I just did an event this past Saturday. As a ring announcer, my job is to give the fighters in the cage a voice so the fans in the stadium buy into them and buy into that fight. Doing the TV play-by-play broadcast, my job is to tell a continuous story for the viewing audience at home, so that way they understand why they should be watching the fight and why they should keep watching it. So you can check out some of those fights. If you're in Chicago and you have the Marquee Sports Network, which is a channel the Cubs play on, you'll see me on the Marquee Network. And there's also the Stadium Network, which is a on like one of those like Sports Plus packages. You'll see me on there sometimes as well. It's really fun, and I will say it has not gotten old yet. Randomly, like I've channel surfed and accidentally found myself on TV. It is cool to have that moment. And all of this comes together and has helped fuel Startup Hypeman over the years. I started this in 2017. We've worked with a ton of entrepreneurs since then, really helping them dial in what is their voice and the story that they need to tell. And we've had a lot of impact too in this process. I think I need to update some of these numbers, but we've worked in a lot of cities around the globe, every continent except Antarctica. But when the penguins jump off, we got them too. This has helped fuel millions in capital raises and sales and a lot. And I think the 24 number at the bottom, I think is now approaching 30. I believe we're around 30 pitch competition winners or top 3 when there's been money involved. And we partner with a lot of cool people along the way as well. Forecastr over the last year or so being one of our coolest partners too. And we keep doing work together and they've been great for us, and they're great for so many founders. So make sure that, if you don't know a lot about Forecastr, you get to know them because they've got one of the coolest softwares, I think, that can help a startup's journey. So obviously I think this stuff is important. But maybe I don't have enough merit in the game. So I want to make sure that you really do feel that storytelling and messaging is important. So let me share with you the words of a few other people. That the photo on the right is supposed to transition in. I forgot to add the transition for that one. So let's just focus on the photo on the left for a second. This guy's name is Raj Bhargava. I like to joke he's the Tom Brady of entrepreneurship, because I would equate in startup land, the equivalent of winning a championship is either getting acquired or exiting or IPOing. He's done that 7 or 8 times. I believe he started 8 companies, 3 or 4 have IPO'd, 3 or 4 have exited. He's on the board of his 7th. He's running his 8th. I see billboards sometimes in Chicago for his current company called Jump Cloud. He was one of the co-founders of Techstars originally. And he told me this in a podcast episode. I did not lead the witness on this, but I asked, what is an area more startups need to go slow in now so they can grow faster ultimately? And he said, I think messaging is one of the most important things that startups can focus on, and it gets glossed over all the time. I think most companies fail at it, and that's probably why a lot of them actually fail overall. Raj also co-authored a book called The Startup Playbook. I highly recommend you go out and pick up a copy of that. It's like an A to Z manual of building a company. If you don't want to take his word for it, I'm going to transition and show another photo of someone else here at the bottom of the screen. Take Sean Amirati's word for it. He told me how you end up like a WordPress or a YouTube is you have your foundational elevator pitch extremely tight. It is the core building block upon which you can build all the different communications important for your business. Sean is an angel investor and a professor of entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon University. He knows his stuff. He also authored a book called The Science of Growth, another really good read. It's also available on audiobook if you want to get it. What him and his research team at Carnegie Mellon did was they looked at nearly identical companies and products in nearly identical markets and studied what were the elements that led one to scale up and the other to stall out. So, for example, they compare the success of YouTube against another company called Rever that had the same technology. Why do we use YouTube as a noun and a verb today, and no one's heard of Rever? So they go through like 5 or 6 different comparison case studies throughout the book. It's really, really valuable. And if you don't want to take Sean's word for it, on the right side of the screen, you've got Abhinaya. She's an active investor here in Chicago with M25 Ventures. And I literally just had coffee with her like 3-4 weeks ago. And this is what she told. I point blank asked her, I said, what is the most important you think about when investing in a founder? And she said, storytelling is the #1 most important founder trait. It's not, and it's not just that it means you can pitch me. Good storytelling is a leading indicator of your ability to get customers and hire the right people, which will ultimately determine your success. So, across these messages, can we all agree that storytelling and your messaging is important? By a nod, or if you're in the chat with a thumbs up or something like that, yeah? Okay. So what I want us to do real quick is, for those of you who are in the Zoom grid, just come off of mute for a second, and we're going to do a call and response here. So I'll say the first half of the sentence and then I'll toss it to you. All right. So, all right, ready? Come off of mute here. My startup.
My startup
My startup
Yeah, there we go. Does
My
not
startup.
mean shit
does not
does
mean
not
shit
mean shit
without a compelling story.
without a
without a
compelling story.
story.
All right, let's try it as one long sentence together as one. 3, 2, 1, go. My
My
startup
startup
does not
does
mean
mean
shit
shit
Story.
without
without
a
a
compelling
story.
story. Okay, beautiful. You can go back on mute now. Thank you. All right, so if we can all believe this, let's get into some more of the details here. So we know this is important. Let's talk about what we care about at the end of the day. Money. Woo, woo, woo. Right. We are all looking to generate capital, whether it is raising capital, getting grants or donations, whether it's generating revenue. If you don't want to be as sort of like direct about it, you can also think about money in the sense of like creating jobs in the economy, providing for your family, building generational wealth, building the life you dream of, all those things, right? That's what we care about at the end of the day. And that's what we're after, is to be able to make those things happen. At the same time, we just all agreed that the story and the product does not mean, or the product does not mean shit without a compelling story. So what's happening here? We know this is important. We know this is the end goal, but it can be hard to get this if you're feeling tongue-tied. And maybe if you think about earlier, when I gave the opportunity for anyone to pitch, maybe you felt this might have been the situation you were going to end up in. Here's where we test the might of my phone hotspot.
The dog, you put the food in the thing, and then the dog sees it, and food's it's dangling. Dog looks at dang, tail wag, dog wagging the tail, whatever dog's name is. Dog's name is Claire. Claire, come in. Claire sees dog food, pick, Facebook, like.
Sizzle,
Pick.
strategy, sex, something.
This is the worst pitch I have ever seen.
So dramatization, but maybe you feel like that's been you before, or you're worried that's going to be you, where your tongue is swelling up in your throat, you're repeating yourself a bunch of times over and saying a lot of stuff that doesn't mean a whole lot of stuff. So what is it that's holding everyone back? Well, it's this concept that I call the messaging treadmill. Why a treadmill? Because we know this is important. We know we should work on it, but it feels like one step forward is one step back, like we're running in place on a treadmill. Now, through talking to literally thousands of entrepreneurs over the years, these are the top 3 reasons that have come up for why it's so difficult to figure this out and why people are stuck on the messaging treadmill. One of them is being too in the weeds of your own company to know how to really take a step back and look at this thing with fresh eyes, being able to see the forest for the trees, if you will. Another is being too technical. Maybe you're like the product person, or you're the software engineer behind the thing, code. And when you talk about it, it's, you're very technical in the description of it. Or perhaps, Doug, in your case earlier, like you've got the science background, so you know how to speak to it from the very deep science level, but then the more like, lifted up version becomes difficult. And then number 3 is being too caught up in the day-to-day, right? As an entrepreneur, you have 1,000 things on your to-do list, and figure out pitch inevitably gets pushed to the bottom. And I know this happens, right? You could have a to-do list of 10 things. The 10th thing could be like work on pitch. You will check off the first 9 things and then find 9 new things to put ahead of work on pitch. So it just keeps getting bumped to the bottom of the list. And then on top of this, if you were to put all these 3 things in a gift box and wrap it up with a bow, that bow would have an inconvenient tag on it. And that tag would say entrepreneurship, which means we have this ongoing mental crisis as entrepreneurs where, we wake up and we pour our coffee in the morning and we make the mistake of checking our email while pouring our coffee. And we see that, oh my God, the app has been down for the last 8 hours and no one told me. And you're spitting out your coffee in this moment. You're like, well, today's going to suck. And then an hour later, your developer is like, hey, we still can't figure it out. What's going on? People are getting mad. They're asking for refunds. They're calling us crooks. And you're like, oh my God, could this day get any worse? 11 a.m. an investor emails you and is like, hey, we're passing on your company. Sorry. An hour after that, you get a customer or a prospect being like, hey, we're going to go with another vendor, et cetera, et cetera. Good email, a bad email, a good event, a bad event. It's this whole roller coaster of emotions. And somehow by the end of the day, we leave and then we go home and we get up and we do it again the next day. It is a never ending roller coaster of emotions that I think it takes non-entrepreneurs sometimes an entire week or month to experience what we experience an entire day. And so when all that stuff is going on in the background, when you know what's happening behind the scenes, it can be really hard to then turn around and talk about your company in the most positive light because you know the bad stuff that's happening in the background. Now, what I want you to do is use the chat here and let me know, use numbers 1, 2, or 3, or a combination of those. And let me know which situation you feel applies to your scenario for where you feel you're struggling. And if it's none of them, I'll also say that. Doug's a 2, being too technical. Brooke says all of them. David is a 1 and a 3, being too in the weeds, too caught up in the day-to-day. Craig, what's up? Didn't know you were coming to this. Craig's a 3. Barb's a 3. Okay, great. So this is hitting with a lot of 6. Does that mean you have 3 twice? Okay, so I'm glad this resonates. Coming back to Kim and Joyce with HonestGame, they were very much numbers 1 and 2. Joyce was number 2, being too technical because she was the product person, and Kim was number 1, being too in the weeds. So in order to change this, the first thing we needed to change was mindset. And so this is the first lesson I'm hitting you with today. And what I want you to do from this day, so real quick, Doug asked, what's the difference between 1 and 2? Too technical would mean like you are very much like you know the product inside and out, and then for that reason you tell people a lot about the product details. Too in the weeds is like more so you're buried in, it doesn't have to be product details, but you're buried in a lot of just what your timeline and your journey of your company has been, and so you tend to just overshare. And not be able, you don't have the ability to think about or communicate. If I were to zoom out, how should I talk about this to someone who has totally fresh eyes and ears? Okay, I hope that helps. So coming back to this, the lesson here, the first lesson we hit Kim and Joyce with at HonestGame, and the lesson I want to share with all of you is mindset. From this day forward, I want you all to stop thinking like an entrepreneur and instead think like an entertainer. Why an entertainer? Because the entertainer has one goal in mind: make an emotional connection with my audience, get them to feel something, get them buzzing in a particular energy with their friends as they leave the stadium, right? That's what the entertainer focuses on. And as a result, they craft and curate their set list accordingly around this desired emotion they want to deliver and this desired connection they want to have with their audience. What you do not see an artist do. George, who's your favorite music artist?
Dude, that's a hard one. I'm all over the board, man. Love
Give me
some,
a favorite then, or a top one.
a favorite. I love some J. Cole, man. I do.
Okay, all right. J. Cole, the lyrical
Because
master.
you're the rap guy, so I figured I had to
So, yeah,
kind of
so
go
you
down
should've said
that
me.
route a little bit, right? So maybe you, I don't know.
There we go, RajNATION. I'm my favorite rapper, I'll say that. So all right, let's say you go to a J. Cole concert. What I promise J. Cole is not doing is hitting the stage and going, all right, everybody. And George, where are you located? Sorry, Austin?
I'm in Austin, Texas, yeah.
All right, Austin, how are you doing tonight? And you're like, yeah, we're great. And he goes, okay, so check it. So tonight, I'm gonna perform every song from my entire catalog. I've put out 6 or 7 studio albums. Each album has about 16 to 18 songs on it. After we get through all that, I then have some working drafts in the garage that are not fine-tuned yet. They don't really sound great, but they're really important to me, and I want to make sure you hear them because they're important to me, and that's what matters. And then after that, we're gonna spend a little bit of time giving you a window into our upcoming 6 to 9 month music roadmap. It will take 34 hours to get through all of this. Who's with me?
Like, I'm hungry, man. I don't want to do that.
Exactly, right? Even a diehard J. Cole fan is going to be like, I gotta get home.
Yeah.
I got mouths to feed, right? I got a job to go to, right? They stick to the hits and they craft and they curate that set list. They figure out what are their greatest hits for that moment. And that's your job too as an entrepreneur. You got to figure out your greatest hits set list and stick to that, particularly when it comes to your elevator pitch, but even as it gets into deeper pitching as well. It's time and place to get into further details. So think like an entertainer. A great example of this in action is one of my favorite rappers, Jay-Z. He actually did this through lyrics. He said in a song that's now 20 years old, which is crazy. He had a song called Moment of Clarity, and he compared himself and his success to the lesser known underground artists by the names of Talib Kweli and Common Sense, or Common, as he goes by shorthand. Gordon said, I'll give you 2 of those 34 hours. Exactly. So Jay-Z said, I dumbed down for my audience and doubled my dollars. If skills sold, truth be told, I'd probably be lyrically Talib Kweli. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like Common Sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't been rhyming like common sense. Oh, it's the rock in the building, right? He literally says, hey, I have all the skill, talent, etc. to be like that I could be that kind of rapper, like that most in-depth, etc., whatever you want. But I realized if I really wanted to break through from the underground into the mainstream, I had to meet my audience where they were, right? And once I did that, guess what? I did 5 million sales of a single record and I never looked back. And this dude called his own shot because what, 3-4 years ago, he became hip hop's first billionaire by focusing on his audience. And so the question you all have to answer for yourselves is, are you willing to break through from the underground to the mainstream? Do you want to be an underground act or do you want to be a mainstream performer? Put in another way, do you want to sell out basements or do you want to sell out arenas? And to be honest, both are viable paths. But understand if you're selling out basements, that's its own journey and it's different. And if you do want to sell out arenas, you got to really go from being a martyr to being a missionary, or being a mercenary to being a missionary for your company. It's not about everything that you care about. It's about your audience and what they care about. Another way you can think about this is through this graphic here, Super Mario. This is from a company called User Onboard. You have the small Mario, that's your customer. The flower is your product. You combine those things together, you have Big Mario on fire, shooting fireballs and stomping on Koopas and killing bad guys and saving the day. That is what you are selling. You're selling the right side of the equation. You are not selling the flower. So keep that in mind, right? It's all about the audience. We don't have time to watch this video, but George, maybe you could throw it in the chat. So you'll go to YouTube and you will type into it's weird. You're going to go to YouTube, but type in Google. So on YouTube, type in Google search The Reunion, and then just drop the link in here. And then everybody, George will drop that link in the chat. After this is done, you can watch that. It's a really, really good example of being audience focused. And that's the point here, right? Like, see and speak
like
from your audience.
3 minutes long. Yeah, 3:32.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
It is not in English, so just make sure you have the closed captioning turned on. Keep a tissue box nearby because you really might be crying by the end of it. That's how good they are at being emotionally resonant with the audience. So that's your mindset, all right? Think like an entertainer, not like an entrepreneur. With that, let's start to figure out the elevator pitch stuff now that we have the mindset figured out. What do we feel
also,
like?
Raj, I would love just to pop into and say,
Please.
Entertainers, some of the best things that they do is they cater to their audience, right? So like every audience is a little bit different, and every city that they go to and every concert, like at a festival, will be way different from a smaller, intimate setting. So if a VC or an investor that you're pitching to, or even an audience, is going to be way different. Like a VC may have technical knowledge around something when general audience is not going to even understand what AI is or an LLM or whatever. So you kind of have to explain that in a different sense. So get specific, learn your audience, and kill it as an entertainer.
That's
but Raj, I mean, that's killer. I wish we talked about that more.
When we did our album release party back in September, one of the songs I was performing, it's the second track on the album. It's called I Can Be Anything. And the audience, it was cool. The audience knew the lyrics, so they're singing along. But the second verse goes verse, bridge, hook. And after I got to the end of the second verse, the audience started singing the hook naturally, as opposed to the bridge. And rather than forcing the bridge back on them, I just went with it. I did the hook in that moment with them. Then I came back to the bridge and then did another hook after that. And that's an example right there of being able to go with the audience and feel how they are in the moment and make it work for them instead of being like, no, hey, everybody, stop. You got ahead of me. Let's do this part of the song first. Then we can do that and sing along together. So, all right, bringing this all together now, let's talk about like the idea of pulling together an elevator pitch. Now, there's a lot of legendary companies over the years. You could go all the way back, centuries ago to Sears and Roebuck, all the way to modern times today with a company like, I don't know, Netflix or Quip or something like that. But I've searched high and low and far and wide, and I have found that the best elevator pitch of all time is actually out of entertainment, and it is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. So those of you who are in the Zoom boxes here, we're going to come off of mute again. And you didn't realize this earlier that you tuned not only into a live game show, but you also tuned into a sing-along concert. So what we're going to do here is sing the Fresh Prince theme together. All right, bring yourselves off of mute.
Hey, fun fact about this, Raj, I memorized this verse for verse, line for line when I was in middle school. So this is taking me back to a core memory right now.
Amazing. All right, let's bring ourselves off of mute, everybody, and we will sing this together. And a 1.
Jimmy, you better come off mute again. Let's go.
Seriously, Jimmy, let's go. And a 3. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped upside down, and I like to sit right there. How I became a town called Bel-Air. And we got lags and everything. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground, my days, chilling out, relaxing, all shooting b-ball outside of my school with a couple of guys who were up to no good. Started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight. My mom got scared and took me auntie and uncle in Bel-Air. All right, we'll pause it there. Thank you, everybody. Round of applause. Appreciate y'all. Why do we sing that? It's super fun, right? And it's memorable. But why is it memorable? He's telling a story. That's actually his elevator pitch for the show. Think about it. I had this rough upbringing in Philadelphia. Had I stayed there, there was a good chance I was going to get involved in a lot of bad stuff. My mom recognized this early on. And so she realized the path to fulfilling my potential would be to send me off to Bel-Air, California. There, I would be surrounded by the right family structure, have access to the right education, and tap into the right resources so that ultimately I could grow into the man she knew I was capable of becoming. That is the story being told. And that's what sets the table for the show. And it's what allows every episode of the show to make sense. If you had never seen this show, or you never seen or heard the intro and watched an episode, you'd spend the entire episode trying to figure out what's going on here. But because we know the intro, every episode makes sense. And it's giving you just enough to want to then watch the show. It's not overwhelming you by any means. It's giving you just enough to have you still want to watch the show. And that's what your elevator pitch should do. It should be an invitation for people to want to stick around and watch your show. It should make them want to buy the ticket to your movie if you think of it as your movie trailer. And I'll tell you this, we do not see movies if the trailer is bad, right? Unless you're being ironic. No one's like, I can't wait to spend probably on tickets, parking, and popcorn $55 and 2 hours of my time for something that looks terrible. So that's the idea here, right? Your trailer, your upfront introduction, that elevator pitch has got to be strong so they want to stick around and hear more from you. The other reason I like to use this as an example is because notice they didn't get to season like 5 and be like, hey, you know what? People get it by now. We can stop starting with the introduction. We can cut it. No, every episode they use the introduction. They use the song because they know it might be, Nana, it might be your 100th time watching, but it's also at the same time possibly Brooke's first time watching. And they need to make sure that it's a reminder for you, Nana, but it's an introduction for Brooke. And she's up to speed. And so she's not left behind. And I share that because the number of times I will go to events or conferences and hear founders get pitch fatigue. And they haven't even, it's been like 45 minutes or an hour. And they'll just start phoning it in and being like, oh, I've done this so much already. Okay, so our product is this, this, and this. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot like that? Right? This is your opportunity to showcase it. So put your best effort into it and do it in a way like you owe it to your audience, right? So make sure that even though it's your 100th time, it is always someone else's first time and you owe it to them to give it the best representation possible. So how do we create a strong elevator pitch? It starts with, let's get into section 2 now and section 3, which is formulas and strategies. It starts with developing your positioning, okay? So in order to create a strong elevator pitch, you need to know your position in the market. To do that, we use a tool we created called the superhero positioning strategy. You have to look at your startup as a superhero, because what do superheroes do? They help and they save people. What are you doing? You're helping and saving a subset of the population from something. I like to use Batman as an example because Batman was a person who combined technology with access to capital to serve the public good. Does that sound familiar? Technology plus capital equals serve the public good. Pat yourselves on the shoulder for being Bat people. So if we take Batman as the example, generally speaking, you can use the chat or you can come off mute. What's happening that makes Batman put on the cape and come in and save the day?
Bad guys are taking over the city.
Yes, taking over the city. Yes, a crime, a problem. Yeah, exactly. The bank has been blown up, or the bank has been robbed. Rather, the hospital's been blown up. Someone's getting mugged in the street. These are all reasons that make Batman put on the cape and come in and save the day. Batman does not save Gotham on a sunny day. All right, if it's like 70 degrees. People have their kids at the park. They're taking their dog for a walk. They don't have a care in the world. You do not see Batman swoop in and be like, "Whoa, I'm here to save you." Because if he did, do you know how the people would respond? They'd be like, "Stay away from my kids, you creep." Right? They'd get the exact opposite impression of Batman. He only saves Gotham when Gotham needs saving. Similarly, as a startup, if you are a superhero, you should only be saving your people when they need saving. And yet I will hear so many pitches lead with our product is this and does X, Y, and Z. So reverse that. The superhero strategy says that in order for you, the superhero, to exist, you must have a few things in place first. You must have a person in distress. There needs to be a village on fire. When the village has been set on fire, you can activate a superpower. When your superpower has been activated, then the superhero comes in to save the day. In business speak, what this translates to is your target audience, core problem they are experiencing, your approach to that problem, and ultimately your solution. This is how you develop your market positioning. And this is purely meant to be an internal exercise. This is what we did with Kim and Joyce with HonestGame. This is what we do with every company we work with. If you're doing this on your own, just take out a piece of paper, draw 4 columns, and just bullet point your answers to these things. Do not worry about how it sounds at this stage. Just get the ideas out of your head. It is an internal reference document only. The reason why this helps so much is because by starting here with your person in distress and your village on fire, you are forcing yourself to first provide context and frame of reference in order to intro your product. Most importantly, you are leading with empathy. And empathy is the key to unlocking this entire pitch strategy stuff and having successful pitches. From this, the second formula I'm going to hit you with is you take this and you extract out the key information to create your elevator pitch. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you the elevator pitch formula. I want to make sure you are ready. So if you are, in the chat, in capital letters, write the word pitch. All right, the answers are coming in. Pitch, 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 pitch. Look at this. The crowd is chanting for it. Pitch, 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 pitch. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the easiest to remember yet most deadly effective messaging thing you will ever come across is simply, I call it que pasa. The que pasa elevator pitch formula. Who knows Spanish? What can you tell me what que pasa means?
It's not just what's up, is it?
It is. It's exactly what it is.
Okay. I thought
What's
so.
up or what's happening?
Just off that 4 years of Spanish.
Okay, pasa in Spanish means what's up or what's happening. And that's what, when you have to give that upfront pitch, that's your job as well. Tell people what's up. PASA, problem, approach, solution, action. Problem, approach, solution, action. Problem, approach, solution, action. Problem, approach, solution, action. Again, the reason why this works is because you start here, you are starting with context and frame of reference, but most importantly, you are leading with empathy. All right. And this formula, coming back to what Sean Amirati said at the beginning about how a strong elevator pitch is not just the thing you use, it's also the building block for your entire communication strategy. This, we have proven time and time again that this formula allows founders and allows companies, growing companies, to build on top of to create the rest of their communication and messaging strategy as well. So it starts here. You lock this in, everything else becomes easier. I want to share some examples now, which is part 3 of this training. And before I do that, real quick, you'll see in the examples how it really maps out, but the people ask about approach versus solution. Think about approach as it's going to be a catchy, sexy one-liner that is your ultimate brand promise and bridges you into the solution, where the solution is, what does it do? How does it help? Why should people care? So let's look at some examples now. The first one I'm going to share with you, and just a heads up, we had that technical difficulty at the beginning. I'm going to probably need to go like 4 minutes overtime. So if you have to jump at the very top of the hour, I totally understand. Otherwise, if you can hang on, please do. And remember, we will send out the copy of the slides as well as the director's cut recording as well after this, and then post this recording to YouTube within a few days. So first company here, Cyber Pop-Up. Christine Iswakor is the founder, great person. She was looking to get her name out there and start generating some capital through hitting different stages. And here was the elevator pitch we developed for Cyber Pop-Up. Your server was hacked. You failed an audit. Your latest software update is vulnerable. Cybersecurity is serious business. It's also highly specialized. So why would you find an expert from the same place your marketing team gets their freelance graphic designers? What? Ew. Meanwhile, traditional consulting firms take you through a sales process that lasts months. You needed someone for the job like yesterday. Approach. Get vetted specialists in a fraction of the time at a time when you need it most with Cyber Pop-Up. Solution. Submit your project and get started as early as the same day. We manage the team and verify all your requirements are met so you get the highest quality delivery without the headaches. Action. Cybersecurity isn't a matter of if, but when. So when it hits the fan, go to cyberpopup.com. Capital letters CP in the chat if you have a baseline understanding of how they might be valuable to their target audience of small and medium-sized businesses. Great. All right, good. We're starting to vibe with this. Good, good, good. And again, notice how this is how a story is being told in 1 minute or less. All right, that's what's happening here. Also notice, we're not being like, cybersecurity is a $400 trillion problem or whatever like that, right? In the action step is where I would recommend putting in market size just to check off that box, if specifically talking to an investor. So Christine's journey was great, right? She wanted to hit some stages, get her name out there. She ended up going on a tear. Over the course of a year, these are the emails that I got from her. Sidebar, 120K in a competition yesterday. Just a sidebar to another email. Casually won 20K. A little bit later, $5,000 win. Shortly after that, $100,000 win. The following weekend, another $100,000. She did this so often and so much that she started generating media attention for all the victories she was getting. In total, over the course of a year, I believe she raised $250,000 across competitions. All but maybe 5K of it was equity free. It was just prize money. And this then allowed her to springboard to raise a formal seed round as well. So huge ups to Christine and Cyber Pop-Up, and now she's on her way to scaling the business. And if you're worried, here's the thing too, like at the time, she's got a marketplace product of connecting the professionals to the businesses. But at the time, she was the marketplace, right? She was just manually performing the service. And then after she had done it a few times, she started getting some freelancers and then just manually connecting people to her freelancers. And then she started to use this prize money to then start to build out the software and actually create the platform, followed by raising the formal seed round. Let's take a look at Carson here with FanFood. I happen to have a before and after video with him, so this is great. Here's what his pitch was originally. Just like I told Doug earlier to pitch me, did the same thing to Carson, and here's what he said.
Alrighty, FanFood is a mobile concession app that allows fans at live events to order concessions from their phone. They can choose to have it delivered to their seat, or they can pick it up through an express line. The value add for the end user, the fan, is that we're going to maximize the user experience. The value add for the venue is that we're going to increase the revenues and the per caps. Yeah, that's it.
Very, very like technical way of talking about it. I don't know, another conversation I've had in life where someone says, yeah, the value add for our user group is this. On top of that, very flat delivery. I didn't even get the sense that he liked his own company by the way he was delivering it. And let's compare that to when we apply the K-Pasa method. Whoops. Here's what it looks like. And then, by the way, I showed up at his office one day and said, let's do your pitch. I didn't give him the heads up. I literally showed up and he did it.
Hey there, my name is Carson Goodale, CEO and co-founder of FanFood. Now, as a diehard sports fan, there's nothing more frustrating when you're at your team's game than missing a big play because you were stuck waiting in a line for a hot dog and beer. FanFood keeps you in the moment. Our mobile ordering app brings concessions directly to your seat, so you never have to miss the big play. Now, we are currently live in 5 venues in 3 different states, our 2 largest being a Major League Soccer venue and the Formula One Raceway down in Austin, Texas. Download our app today on the iOS and Android store.
Confidence, swagger, the message makes sense, right? And here it is written out for you. Capital letters FF if you understand what FanFood does. All right, fantastic. Good. Glad to see that come in. And again, like, notice the focus here on the problem first. If you are a sports fan, you can visualize when this exact thing has happened to you, right? Every sports fan who goes to games or events knows the moment they've been at where they've missed a play because they were like in a 25-minute long line. And FanFood had a great journey out of the gate, $1,000 competition win. Then they went to $25,000 in a win. That win came with a strategy console from Damon from Shark Tank. They have been at a successful crowd fund, raised around a $3 million round, and scaled up to having customers in pretty much every major sports and event league. So big ups to Carson and FanFood. He's since transitioned out of the company, but they had a really successful run there over the course of a few years. How about Kim and Joyce with HonestGame? Let's come back to them. Remember what we said before, how they were struggling with being too technical, with people not understanding the opportunity, with they could talk to 2 people and those people would think they met 2 different companies. So here's what their pitch turned into. This is like we talked before, like there's a lot of multi-use case for this. So they actually took the elevator pitch and they flipped it into the script for an explainer video for their company. So we're going to watch that now.
Wix is your platform to perform on.
Okay. Starting with the problem.
When you're a star high school student athlete, you compete tirelessly on the court and in the classroom to achieve your one dream of playing in college. Top schools recruit you and even offer you a scholarship. Then senior year hits and you find out that the class you took actually doesn't count. Your GPA is 0.25 off or your SAT score is 10 points too low. Even with the experts in your corner, school counselors, parents, and coaches, athletic eligibility rules can be confusing to navigate. And often by the time you find out you're ineligible, it's too late to catch up. Boom. Game over.
Approach.
HonestGame is the clear pathway for getting in.
Solution.
We automate the process so the student, the parent, the coach, the counselor, and the college all get real-time eligibility updates. With HonestGame, everyone knows what to do before it's too late. In the last 20 years, total...
This goes into the action now for the purpose of the video. They get into some of the market size stuff and things of that nature. I won't play it because we're running low on time here, but capital letters HG, if you have a decent understanding of HonestGames, how it would be valuable to high school student athletes and the colleges who want to recruit them. Good, great. So I'm telling you, this KPASA method works, okay? And for Kim and Joyce, at the time that we did this, they were about to onboard 5 or 6 unpaid pilot customers. An opportunity came up to enter a competition in partnership with the investment group Loud Capital and the Chicago Bulls. 221 companies applied to this, and 20 were selected for the semifinals. HonestGame made it into that top 20. The top 20 pitched, and from there, a top 5 was whittled down to, and HonestGame even made it into the top 5. And remember, they didn't even have any paying customers yet. The cool thing is the journey didn't end there. The top 5 finalists got to pitch on center court at the United Center to Bulls executives, the Loud Capital team, some other Chicago area business executives. 4-time world champion Horace Grant was part of the panel as well. That was pretty cool. And this was to seek a $50,000 investment. And they got to be part of that finalist round, which was great. They were going up against other companies who already had $1 million+ annual revenue. They had 5 or 6 unpaid customers. At the end of the day, at the next night at the Bulls game, the winner was announced, and an HonestGame was holding the check for $50K. 2 people who just a few months prior were confusing everybody now got the backing of a major VC and the Chicago Bulls. So huge ups to them. And then this allowed them to on-ramp shortly after that to oversubscribing their seed round. Last I checked in with them, they are now doing over $2 million in annual revenue, and they've scaled up their team to about 10 or so. So that is the HonestGame story. And that's why I tell you the KPASA formula works so well. And you can see, right, they're like, hey, this partnership is going to be able to impact the millions of young lives by providing equal access to college athletics. This is why this formula is so powerful and why it can do so much for you. So in closing, the question that I will pose to all of you, or what I'll tee up for you, is that you have a choice with all this stuff. And this KPASA formula is designed to help you choose the latter. But a lot of startups try to play the we are the better of, or we're the best of game. I challenge you to not try to be the best, but be the only. Because the companies who can establish themselves as the only are the ones who shape the market in their image. They create the rules that everyone else plays by. All right. There is not another Beyonce. There is not another Taylor Swift. There might be other performing artists and musicians, but no one would mistake Beyonce for someone else. No one would mistake Jay-Z for someone else. Can you be the Beyonce of your industry? Can you be the Jay of your industry? Your opportunity to pitch is like a dance you are doing. And I ask you, are you ready to rock your dance floor? Now, George, I know you have to hop. I'll stick on for a couple more minutes if people have questions, though. But thank you, George.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Forecastr.
Of course. Yeah. Well, guys, I just want to say last part here is, what I've learned kind of in this whole process of pitching and, kind of being in the VC space is, and now being a forecaster, is a pitch deck is so good to tell your story, right? Like that's what we've been talking about this whole time. And I promise you, I really do promise you, I've met with a ton of VCs. A financial model shows how the heck that happens, right? Yeah. So like that is the difference between those two. And when you get to those deeper conversations and or even the mid conversations, they're going to want to know and scrutinize exactly how you're going to make this Beyonce vision come true, right? Like Beyonce didn't become Beyonce without a plan. And that's what a financial model shows, right? So like I said, I'm the partnerships guy here. You can see from my cool little thing. So I get to give you guys a discount, which is awesome. So I'm going to put a link in the chat here, 20% off Forecastr for the first year. And yeah, we'd love just to come talk to you guys. If it's not us, would just love to help you guys out in some way. We have free financial model templates, but this is going to set you guys up to get that steal of a deal for your first year. And you're not going to find that anywhere else other than through our partners like amazing Raj here. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for coming. And I got to jump, but appreciate you guys.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. So for everyone else sticking around for a minute or two more, the QR code on the screen there, if you scan that, that'll take you directly to our calendar page if you want to meet with us to see if we can help you with this. We have a very cool process that starts with your elevator pitch. We build out your pitch deck as well, and a couple more aspects that are key to helping you go out and raise capital. We also find our process is very, very useful for figuring out the messaging to be able to gather traction. One of the hardest things in the current funding climate is to actually raise capital. What you will need is a really strong pitch with some proof points behind it as well. And so in our process, we've found a lot of our entrepreneurs are able to take what we create in this process and not just use it for the capital raise purpose, but also go out and acquire customers too. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. My link is there at the bottom. We have an online founder community that's free for anyone to join. We actually, Thursday of this week is our monthly members workshop. It is a masterclass on cold emailing for anyone who has a B2B buyer. We're bringing in an expert to talk about cold emailing, and you can even bring drafts of your cold emails, and time permitting, they'll get reviewed on the spot as well. So just trying to think here, if you're already on our newsletter, you would see that. Otherwise, just ping me, like DM me on LinkedIn or email me, and I'll send you the link directly. Anyone can join the GTM Club workshops, but only the members of the club. And again, membership is free. We'll have access to the recording afterwards, and any follow-up discussion we do in our forum too. What questions can I answer for you now, specifically on the stuff we talked about today, or other, just like startup growth related topics that you might have on your mind?
I think a big one for me was the cold emailing. My approach. So my startup is essentially, should I pitch?
Go for it.
So off of this class just now, I've come up with a new pitch. I haven't finished it, but I'm taking the pasa approach.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read it. All right. So when you're commuted by bike, efficiency and convenience is your main priority. E-bikes gives you exactly that, but they're expensive, and the cheap ones catch on fire. That's just a quick, all right, that's a very quick overview, right? And so our approach is the venture provides the convenience and the safety that gets you on the road from point A to point B. Our solution is a plug and play conversion kit that turns your bike into an electric bike. And then, sorry, it's the action. Buy one today. It's only $500. I didn't develop that part yet.
Cool. Hey,
but,
not bad. Especially,
yeah.
What do we think, everybody? Throw some feedback in the chat there. What's your take on this? Honestly, for our first time through seeing this material in the last 30 minutes, I think that's really good. I think
thanks.
Where you'll need to work on it is connecting the pieces together a little bit better. And I think the problem can be made a little bit deeper and stronger too. Like you can make us feel it more. You talked about it almost like as if it's like a concept that's out there, but I want to be able to feel it in my bones.
Okay.
I do think I do think it's a great product concept and business idea.
Yeah. So my approach is to reach out to bike shops, right? 250 bike shops. I created a spreadsheet with all of their emails and contacts and things like that. And so I'm actually going to use GPT to send those emails through Mac OS terminal, so I don't have to do it.
Be
right?
very, very mindful. So, okay, let me just touch on ChatGPT for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It is only as good as the information you put into it. I have seen a lot of people try and just get a copy paste template out of GPT for cold emails, and it does not it still sounds a little bit robotic. And I'm not saying it won't improve over time, but unless you are really good at training the AI like on your own and know all the right prompts, and even then I would still give it a review. I think GPT gives you a starting point so you can go more easily go from white page to something, but then look at that something and make your revisions from there.
So I never do that. I usually create my own kind of passage, and then I feed it to GPT, and I give it the prompt. You know, you're the marketing. It gets more detailed. You know, if the more detail you provide it, the better your outcome. Sometimes I get lazy with it, but you do want to be detailed. But I actually used it to my friend. He's a software developer, but he showed me how to use it to develop a script so that it can autonomously send the emails without you having to do it. So that's what I was actually speaking to. So you know, if you have a Mac, you just put it within your terminal app, and then it can actually using Python language send the emails for you through your Gmail. All right.
Nick just put something in the chat that's a prompt you could use. It's a good prompt.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna copy that into my Slack. Any other questions or comments on today's material from anybody? All right. Okay. Appreciate everybody for coming on. We will send out the director's cut recording and copy of the slides. I'll probably do that in the next hour here. And then we'll get the live recording here put up in the next few days. Just make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because I probably won't send out a specific reminder for that once it's up. Appreciate everybody, and hope to talk to a lot of you coming out of this. And if not, I hope you take what you learned today and use it to your benefit. Appreciate y'all. Thanks. Oh, Nick, you raised your hand there. Do you want to? I can stick around real quick if you still got one more. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Raj.
And hang on, Nana, 1 second. Nick, do you need to be promoted to a panelist? Is that the issue here? Let me do that.
Yo.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you. One of the things I'm struggling with my pitch here is that we're sort of horizontal SaaS. So I'm having a hard time focusing on the persona who cares enough to take the time to evaluate. Is like we're sort of like a feedback and survey tool for employees, which could be like HR or IT if it's about software or a couple other things. So it just feels like either overly generic, or I need like 5 different pitches and just gotta be tight with all of them, or go like C-suite, but that they're hard to reach. So I'm just struggling to focus a little bit.
I would create modified tweaks based on your persona to just get some like initial traction, right? With a product like yours, the idea is just getting a certain critical mass until everyone just starts using it on their own, right? Yeah. So in that respect, I would just get more specific with each persona instead of trying to do one thing that is a catch-all for everybody.
That makes sense. Just make like 5 of them and flip to the right one, or is it sort of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there'll be some overlap, right? You'll have things that carry over from one to the next, but yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Thanks everybody.